Hey friends, my name is Renee and I'm here today to talk to you about the 12-week year to effectively set and reach your goals. So this presentation is recorded ahead of time in July of 2021 for WordCamp Santa Clarita. And I wish I could be there in person, but anyway, so what is the 12-week year? The 12-week year is a book, and this is the book here up in the corner. And it's a great book. You should check it out if you haven't read it already. And the 12-week year is about goal setting in 12-week chunks. So the pitfall of setting goals annually, think New Year's resolutions or things like that, is that people lose momentum. They think they have tons of time to get to their tasks, and really they don't. And they lose focus and they start doing other things, and then by the end of the year they don't really have anything done. So the book is really a big proponent of setting those goals in 12-week chunks so that you can make significant progress, so that you don't lose focus, you don't lose momentum, and you're really focused on exactly what you want to do. Because we're going to set a lot fewer goals, less goals for the 12-week year than maybe we would for annual goals. So setting goals is the first step, and we really want to determine what we want our life to look like. So not somebody else's life, not what we think we want our life to look like or what we think it should look like, but really what we want our life to look like. So the book talks about crafting our vision. So there's an aspirational vision, which is kind of like your big picture, and then they also do a 3-year vision. So sometimes with an aspirational vision, it's something that is really so far out there that it looks impossible to us. So, we may be a little bit afraid, I don't want to do this because this is impossible. So if we have something that seems impossible, we can ask what if. And when we ask what if, that leads us to something that might be possible for us. And the book takes us through this framework of then going from possible to how might I do whatever it is that I want to do. And once you ask that question, it could become probable and then a given. So you take those really high, lofty goals, those life goals that you really want to set, and you go from impossible to given. So it's really kind of magical, and I encourage you to check it out. So there are many different categories in life, right? It's not just all about business. I make this mistake sometimes myself. All of my goals are business goals because I'm really jazzed about, freelancing and owning my own business. But there are other things in life too. So maybe your partner, your family, your health, your spirituality, your social life, your financial life, your intellectual life, your emotional life, and your lifestyle. So these are the categories that the book provides, but you can also check out the concept called Wheel of Life, and I have a couple links here, a couple generators. You just answer a couple questions. The categories are different, but they're life categories, so you can kind of look and see where you're lacking, and from there you can determine, okay, maybe this is a good place for me to set some goals. Maybe you're the kind of person who really just knows what they want. I have a friend who's known that she wanted to be a writer since she was like 4 years old. And that's awesome. So I think it would be easier to set goals from there. But for those of us who don't really know or who want to do all the things, I want to do all the things, kind of just narrowing it down to what's important, how do I get from where I am to where I want to be, can be really helpful, just kind of distilling that. There's also a thing called the 5-25 rule. So this isn't part of the book, but I really love this rule. And I guess Warren Buffett didn't actually say it, but he said to write down 25 things that you want to do and throw out 20 of them. Keep the 5 that are most important. Because we come to this thing where it's not really just about focusing on what we want to do and the goals and tactics that we've set, but really it's saying no to all the rest of the stuff, right? So the shiny stuff, the new stuff, what about that? So it's saying no and really focusing on what we've set out to do. So if any of those are helpful for you, check out those links. And the book also talks about intentional imbalance. So for each 12-week year, so for each 3-month chunk, you're not going to choose tactics or tasks in the spouse category and the family category and the health category and the spiritual category. It's really just too much. So the goal is to choose 2 to 3 areas of your life that you want to focus on so that you can gain some significant progress there. And we'll talk about that next. So we have looked at the goals. Okay, this is where I want to go, and these are the things that I want to focus. So how do I get there? Like, what do I do now? So we need some specific actions. So you want to pick, like I mentioned, 2 to 3 goals that you want to focus on in the next 12 weeks. Don't worry, you'll get to those other things in a subsequent 12-week period. So, just pick what you want to do first. Again, 2 to 3 is ideal. From there, brainstorm all the tactics that might help you achieve that goal. So everything you can possibly think of. So if you want to lose weight, you could meal plan, you could eat at the table, you could go to the gym, you could weigh yourself every day, you could track your food, all the things that you could do. And the tactics, again, are the daily and weekly to-dos that really drive the attainment of your goals. So the book says, start them with a verb, make sure there's complete sentences, be specific, be measurable, be positive. And then you're really going to filter the list. So this is difficult for me because I see a list and I'm like, ooh, all the things, let's do all the things on the list. But really you want to throw away everything that's not a critical few, that aren't part of the critical few tasks that really support your success. So you don't just want to add a bunch of stuff to your to-do list. That's not the point of this. But you really want to think about, okay, these few tasks will really support my success. I really want to move the needle here. And these are the tasks that are going to do it, and throw away the rest. I also like to break the tactics down into small chunks because I like easy wins. If it's something that's just going to take a really long time, I can't mark it complete. I get a little bit discouraged. I need a check mark. I need something that's going to say, oh, I did something. I won. Again, an easy win. So from there, let's make a plan. So you have your goals and you have your tactics that are going to support those goals. So now we need a written plan. So the book talks about having a written plan allows you to reduce mistakes, it'll help you save time, and really provides you with some focus. And this is all true in my experience too. A good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. So kind of keeping this front and center and integrating it with our current systems, just so that we can say, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it. So you can have tactics that happen one time in a 12-week period, maybe some things that happen every week or every day. Totally up to you, however you want to structure your plan. You're going to get those down on paper and assign some due dates for them. So the book, I think, gives a Word doc template, but you could also use a Google Doc. I really like to use a Google Sheet, and I've since transitioned to ClickUp because ClickUp integrates, again, with my existing systems. I do a lot of other things in ClickUp. And I always forget about the Google Sheet. So the Google Sheet kind of lives somewhere else. But another way to kind of keep it front and center is to print it out and, kind of put it by your desk. So really the goal here is to just get your plan written down so that you can follow it each week. So let's talk about that written plan. This is a spreadsheet that some people that I know have developed over time, and I've kind of borrowed from as well. And again, a Google Sheet, and there will be a link to this in the presentation at the end. So I'll show you how to get to that after a bit. But you want to add your quarter start and end, and then add your dates for each week. So if you want to use the last date of the week, if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, or the start date, however you want to do it, you can add all of your dates in here. And then this has space for 3 goals. So specific goals, measurable, attainable, realistic goals, but a bit of a stretch. And they'll all be timely because you only have 12 weeks to do them. And from there, you can set your tasks. And if you have subtasks, if you want to do it this way, you can. Otherwise, you could just have a list of tasks and you could say weekly or daily or the week that it's due. Maybe you have a task that spans a couple weeks or that you'll do for a couple weeks, and that's fine. However you want to map it out is okay. And I like to just highlight this so that I know, okay, I need to put a score here. So for example, I don't need to put a score here because this isn't due until week 2, I guess unless I do it ahead of time. So this is how I would score. And there's a calculation at the bottom, just an average of everything. And so now I have my score for the week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And these ones aren't scored yet. So if you want to start with this template, but really customize it and make it your own so that it works for you and your goals and your tactics. Okay, so executing the plan. So we have set the goals. We made the tactics. We wrote it all down. We have a plan. Now it's time to do it, right? Do the things. So this all comes down to making time, right? Making time to execute our plan. So the book talks about time blocking. So we have strategic blocks, buffer blocks, and breakout blocks. So a strategic block is a block of time once a week, about 3 hours worth, where you sit down and you really focus on something as part of your plan. So let's say you wanted to write a book. So you would set aside 3 hours, and more if you needed, of course, 3 hours dedicated time, no email, no distractions, anything like that, no client work, where you're just sitting down and working on your strategic tasks. So this will help you get those tasks accomplished. Buffer blocks, I love the idea of buffer blocks. It's really hard to implement for me for some reason. So these are blocks where basically you check your email. So a half an hour or an hour once or twice a day. So maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, maybe both, where you're doing all the things that are kind of just like the little things, really, like nothing that's really productive, but just things that need to be done. So again, checking your email or whatever it is, doing little client tweaks or whatever you need to do. So those are the buffer blocks. And then breakout blocks are a way for you to recharge. So they're nothing that relate to your plan or your goals or your tactics or anything, just some time away, just some time that you don't have, your nose to the grindstone the whole time. You have some time to kind of rest or relax or really whatever you want to do during the work week. So they really do stress that during the work week where you break out and have some time for yourself. And that will make you, again, help you to be recharged so that you can come back in and be really refreshed and really want to tackle your goals and tasks. I found in my experience that it's easier to make time for myself first, so early in the month, early in the week, early in the day. If I wait, let's say it's a weekly task, if I wait until Thursday or Friday, there is nothing left for me to give, right? I don't have anything left to give to myself at that point because I still have a list of to-dos that aren't done and I'm just tired. So I just don't have time and I don't have the energy to execute my tasks because, again, there's nothing left. So if you can find time early in the week, early in the month, early in the day for those tasks, I think you'll find that really works out well. Add the tasks to your calendar and or integrate with your existing systems. So again, I use ClickUp and I put due dates and I get an email, hey, that's due, hey, that's overdue. So this really helps me, again, tasks on the calendar, strategic blocks or whatever on the calendar so that nobody can schedule a call with me during that time because I'm busy. And if somebody asks me, hey, can you do this? That time is blocked off, that time is for me. And so it's on the calendar. I like to joke, if you have kids, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't happen. So it's kind of the same thing here. Again, keeping your plan close and reviewing it often if you want to print it out or, link on your desktop, maybe your desktop background, just something where you can see your plan and review it often. And really, you just want to be intentional with your planning each week, and that will be really helpful for you. But this is really all trial and error. So it is trial and error in the previous steps that I talked about, but this step specifically I find has more trial and error than other steps because we already do a lot of things and it's hard to fit more things in. So really it comes down to saying no to those other things, the shiny things or the non-important things, and saying yes to the things that you said you were going to say yes to. So don't be afraid to have some trial and error here. Don't be afraid if you fail. Totally normal. It just takes some time to kind of get used to finding what works for you. So I don't know if you've heard of compound interest maybe and or exponential curves, but the difference between greatness and mediocrity on a daily and weekly basis is very slim. So if you think of, again, an exponential curve or compounding, let's say somebody is doing all the tasks. I should get here. Somebody's doing all the tasks and somebody is not doing all the tasks. As you go along in life, there's actually not really that much difference. But over time, the person who's doing really well, it really is going to go up, and the person who is not really is going to go down. It's going to look like it's quick, but that's just, you've built it up over time. So if you haven't read The Compound Effect, I recommend that book as well. Really awesome, talks about compounding. And again, that's the way the world works, exponential curves and compound interest. So the difference day to day doesn't look like much, but down the road, you'll see a big result, big changes in results at the end. So part of this system is scoring your progress. So you want to measure the execution of your tactics. And we talked a little bit about scoring your progress here. So you're saying here, I'm going to do this weekly task 1 and I did it for the week. I'm going to do this week 1, oh, I only did half of it. I'm going to do this task. I did 3/4 of it. So you can score your progress here. If it's something you were going to do every day and you did let's say you're going to do it 6 days and you did it half the days, you could give yourself a 0.5. Really, if you wanted to do 50, you could. However you want to score it, just make sure it's the same so that you get a percentage at the end. And really, it all comes down to numbers, right? So we want to take something that's kind of abstract and put some numbers behind it. So say like, so how do you know if it's working or not? This is all very, all things that aren't so much, what's the word? That you can kind of see results right away. You know, we just talked about compounding and how we're not going to see results really until later. So we want to see something now. So that's the scoring part. So you can do manual calculations too. I like, again, the Google Sheet for the automatic calculations. And you just want to score those daily tactics, score those weekly tactics. You can also do a done or not done if you want to. So if this is not fully done, you can mark it as a 0. However you want to score is fine. Just pick something and stay consistent. Don't overthink this part. That's kind of a drawback as well, where people overthink this part and they kind of get bogged down in it, and that's not important. And your goal really is an 85% each week, but don't worry if you're not getting that. You'll work towards that. You also have to decide what happens if you don't complete a task. So if you don't complete something, are you going to bump it to the next week? Are you going to scrap it all together? How is it going to work if you don't complete something? So just think about that. Okay. The book has a couple chapters, I would say, about staying accountable. So accountability basically is ownership. So ownership of these tasks. So you're making a commitment. You're making a personal promise to yourself. This is really where I want to go in life, and this is how I think I'm going to get there. Because you've kind of worked backwards and you thought, you spent some time and you thought about this. So as it comes to it, day to day, act on those commitments. Like, look at those commitments. This is where I want to go, and this is how I'm going to get there. So not so much on your feelings. I don't feel like it. I'm not seeing any progress. Like, just act on the commitment, and you will do well. Other ways to stay accountable are to assign tactics to yourself with due dates. Again, on the calendar, I mentioned I use ClickUp. There's a due date on there, and I'm getting notifications if I didn't complete something. You can also share your progress and scores with friends or a group or on social media. So maybe that's a way that you stay accountable. So we all hold ourselves accountable in different ways in life. So you really just have to think about what works for you. I'm pretty good with holding myself accountable. I don't really need other people out there, but some people really can't do that. They have to be accountable to someone else, someone external, and that's totally fine. Just think about what works for you. You can also approach this whole thing as not so much as a have to. You don't have to do this. You don't have to read this book. You don't have to finish this presentation. You don't have to set goals and do tactics or anything like that. You don't have to, but you choose to. You choose to, I don't say live your best life, but you choose to think about where you want to go and how you're going to get there, and you choose to do these tasks. So, if you think about it like that, it's really kind of powerful. So if you want something you don't currently have, you need to do something you're not currently doing. So you have to mix it up, you have to change. So let's talk about a couple common pitfalls, and then I'll give you a couple links, and then we'll be good. So pitfalls: you didn't prioritize yourself, or you have way too many goals and tactics. So sometimes too many goals is good. I have a friend who will set tons and tons and tons of goals, and she thinks that if she hits half of them, she has made a ton of progress, which is true because she set so many. But I kind of feel the opposite, where if I have so many things to do and I can't really do anything, I don't really feel accomplished, I don't get those wins, I feel discouraged, and I don't want to continue. So think about if that's the way you are, or the other way, and really what's a pitfall for you. Another pitfall is you're not scoring, or you're giving up when you don't score well. You're not being accountable to yourself. Maybe you don't believe in the goals and tactics you chose initially. Maybe you actually wrote down goals that you think you should have. Maybe you're a freelancer and you think you should be an agency, so you're working towards that, when really that's not actually what you want. So think about that. Also, maybe you don't actually believe in yourself, and we really need to dig a little bit more into why. And the last thing maybe is that you're making excuses. Some people will say, well, I didn't do my tactics this week because, I had client work and I signed a couple new clients. Well, that's all great, but you should be doing that anyway. And the exercise here is really making time for these things that are important to you. So, think about that. So, I don't have time for questions because this is a lightning talk, but please email me or find me on social media and I'll show you the next slide. I'd love to talk about this stuff. I'd love to talk about it with you. We could set up a Zoom call or, tweet me or whatever it is. And my social media links and whatnot are here. This last link here. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, and I am on LinkedIn. So please find me. The presentation here and the slides and possibly a video will be here at this link. And then I also wrote a blog post about the 12-week year. And if you look at this blog post, you will find this template if you want to make a copy and try it out for yourself. So I hope you learned something today. And again, I'd love to talk to you. If you have any questions, please reach out. And I hope you have great luck with your goals and your tactics and have a great day. Thanks so much for being here.